The last year has been extremely difficult for our family. Dad was put on a low dose of a benzodiazepine a few years ago for anxiety following an extremely severe autoimmune reaction to food. He took the medication as prescribed. Last April, when my mom was diagnosed with terminal cancer, the dose of the medication was increased. It became apparent that he was suffering from both a physical dependency and a paradoxical reaction to the medication. The reaction made him suicidal.
You know, you have to look for those that little bit of sparkling crystal in the darkness when things are bad. You have to look and see where things are still beautiful and where there's still something that's sustaining. And you know, you narrow your time frame and you be grateful for what you have, and that can get you through some very dark times.
We're extremely lucky and grateful that he's alive. The next update will come from him directly. Thanks again for all the support.
Then when I hear someone come up to me and say, look, you know, I've done everything I could in the last while to put myself together, and it's much less dark around me, I think. That's one more major victory on the bitter road uphill.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Jordan Peterson needs our help, at least at best, our positive vibes. He is going through a terrible ordeal, has suffered brain damage, and has been basically under constant medical care for the last several months. Now, his book, 12 Rules for Life, it isn't the Bible, okay? It's a good book with good, wholesome information in it. I am not a Jordan Peterson apologist or worshiper, but what I am is a Jordan Peterson respector. Somebody who stood up in the university world to protect his own free speech, to stand up against compelled speech, to take the full brunt of the world on his shoulders, and all while losing his wife. And I respect Jordan Peterson immensely. I think that he is a man of principle, and that the reason he takes so much flack is truly the old statement, you know, you take the most flack when you're over the target. People are afraid of Jordan Peterson because he gives men a voice. The same people that laughed at Jordan Peterson for crying in an interview are the same people whinging on about toxic masculinity. The amount of just disgusting replies to his crying is a perfect example of why male self-deletion rates are so high. According to the New York Post this morning, Jordan Peterson is recovering from tranquilizer addiction in Russia. Why Russia? I don't know. But just look at the way the article starts. A controversial psychology professor. He's not a controversial psychology professor to any normal person. It's not like Jordan B. Peterson is saying things that are crazy. What he's doing is empowering men and giving men a voice that really we needed at that time. We needed somebody who could articulate, who could stand up against a lot of what was going on at the time. He's a self-help author who has spent much of his career railing against political correctness. I disagree with that. It's only been the last few years, and he's almost 60 years old. Is recovering from an addiction to tranquilizers, his daughter said. Jordan Peterson, 57, emerged last week from an intensive care unit in a Russian hospital after being treated for dependence on benzos, an anti-anxiety medicine. Peterson sought alternative treatment in Russia after being repeatedly misdiagnosed in North American hospitals, including a clinic in New York. Michaela Peterson said in a video script she shared with Canada's National Post paper.
We had to seek an emergency medical benzodiazepine detox, which we were only able to find in Russia. It was incredibly grueling and was further complicated by severe pneumonia, which we've been told he developed in one of the previous hospitals.
He nearly died several times, the daughter said, after her father had been taking the drug for years to treat anxiety brought on by severe autoimmune reaction to food. Doctors increased his dosage last year to help him cope with the stress after his wife, Tammy, was diagnosed with cancer. The daughter and her husband took Peterson, a professor at University of Toronto who has long battled depression, to Moscow last month. He was diagnosed with pneumonia and put into an induced coma for 8 days, according to the National Post. She described her father's withdrawal as horrific. In the past, Peterson has said he was able to beat back depression with a meat-heavy diet his daughter encouraged him to adopt. Cutting out greens altogether improved both his mental and physical health, he said in 2018. The 12 Rules of Life author has been released from the hospital and is taking anti-seizure medicine, his daughter said, although he has trouble walking and typing on his own. He's on the mend. According to the Inquisitor, Jordan Peterson reportedly has neurological damage in addiction recovery. A recent update on the health of Canadian author and clinical psychologist Jordan B. Peterson is that he reveals that from his previously reported addiction to benzos is suffering from neurological damage, the National Post reports. According to Peterson's daughter, Peterson entered a rehab center in New York in November, after which his condition worsened. The self-help author reportedly suffered from a movement disorder called akathisia, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, which causes restlessness and an inability to sit still that pushed him to thoughts of self-harm. It became apparent that he was experiencing a paradoxical reaction to the medication, meaning the benzos did the opposite of what they're supposed to do. These reactions are rare, but not unheard of. Peterson eventually enrolled in an alternative treatment program in Russia after North American doctors failed him and had several close brushes with death. After suffering from pneumonia and being put into an induced coma for 8 days, Michaela says that Peterson only recently emerged from intensive care. He has neurological damage and a long way to a full recovery. He is taking anti-seizure meds and cannot type or walk unaided, but he's on the mend. Michaela claims that the ordeal has been painful for both Peterson and family. Well, of course it is. The uncertainty around his recovery has been one of the most difficult and scary experiences we've ever had, she said, although she noted that his condition is improving. He's smiling again for the first time in months. And when you're talking about a 57-year-old man in the ICU for a full month, according to the Washington Times, I'm not surprised that he almost passed several times. Did the diet have anything to do with it? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I thought that what Jordan Peterson would want is for us to use this as a moment as a teaching moment about compassion. If you remember back in October, there was a video that came out where Jordan Peterson cried basically because he just couldn't handle all the online backlash anymore. But then you see people like Queen of the Coast fan tweeting out, okay, we've earned some schadenfreude. Here's Jordan Peterson, fan of difficult thrusts and hard confrontations of others, literally crying about how psychologically damaging in the long term it is when people send mean tweets, and is definitely exactly like facing a physical mob. It can be when you care about somebody's words or what people think. Here you have the classical conservative, October 20th of last year, with the same clip. Surprising absolutely no one, anti-PC warlord and masculinity instructor, both are incorrect. Jordan Peterson is seen here literally crying about how many people are mean to him on Twitter. So, first of all, we now know why, is because he was hanging on by a thread. Second of all, these are the same people that preach about toxic masculinity. These are the same people that simply cannot understand why men wouldn't come forward when they're victims. He then posts below higher quality videos so people can see the tears more clearly. And the replies are disgusting. I mean, the guy was in clear misery. On a website, Sputnik News combined everything. Jordan Peterson rose to fame following a number of videos he posted on YouTube denouncing the extremes of political correctness and arguing that quite few wildly accepted modern-day social norms go against his own freedom of speech. So, congratulations, psychopaths on Twitter and out in the real world. You broke them. Do you feel good? Does that make you feel good? It's pathetic. And as his life still hangs in the balance, it's a good time to maybe pick up this book and read it. I'm sure that his medical care is going to be very expensive. The book's probably more affordable in paperback. Jordan Peterson means a lot of things to a lot of people. And the internet is good for a lot of things. Absolutely. But there is no universal good, really, in almost anything. Everything always has a negative, equal and opposite reaction, so to speak. And if Twitter has done anything that I think, above all else, as a negative, is it's taught people to be monsters, to lose their ability to empathize with people. Look, you can dislike Jordan B. Peterson all you want. You can dislike all of his ideas. No one's asking you to listen to the guy. But on no planet, for all the videos I've made making fun of Brie Larson, for all the videos I've made about Anita or Zoe, on no planet would I ever take joy in their physical pain. Now, maybe that the grift is over and they're broke, I can have a laugh at that. But I do wish them success in life. I really do. I wish that Anita would go get a job doing something she really loves, because she clearly doesn't love video games. I wish Zoe would get a real job and stop taking people's money for video games that she doesn't release. But I would never wish harm on them. And Twitter dehumanizes people to a point where some people think that they can just say the most vile stuff about them. It's just a net negative for bad people to get worse. And I want to just leave the end of this video with just hopefully people think about empathy in terms of the people they dislike or disagree with. Having grace, having maturity. And I really, really, really hope that Jordan B. Peterson is okay. If you're a religious person and you say a prayer for him, I think that would be appreciated. And I think that this should expose a lot of awful people, and it should make us all think that, you know, life is short and things can happen fast like they did to Jordan. He was at the very top, and hopefully he'll be back there again one day. But your body has different plans sometimes, and things don't go the way you'd hoped. But all we can do on the outside is support Jordan and wish him the best. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And at this point, directly to Jordan, maybe you'll watch this. I know you can't type. Maybe you'll watch it. I wish you the best. Seriously, I know people that will watch this video will agree. We're pulling for you. And we really look forward to hopefully seeing you get back out there and get back in the fight.
There's a goal, man. And in this time of nihilism, you know, it's what's the point of life? People ask, and they're taught that at universities. What's the point of life? Everything's interpretation. Humanity's a cancer on the planet. You know? Well, how about no? How about not that? How about that there's something to us?